Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. In the video of today, I want to share a very vulnerable story with you. That happened when I was back in Brazil a few years ago. I was 7 or 8 at that time. Before we got at the orphanage, my mom, she had a lot of issues with my stepdad. And that was mainly the reason why we ended up getting in the orphanage to begin with. My mom met him after she had me with my dad, so he was her second husband. So she had a child with him, my brother number 3, because my mom also had one boy with my dad, and then she had me with my dad. So my brother and I, he's the oldest, we are the only children that share the same common dad. And all the other brothers, the siblings that I will mention here, they're all from different dad. So my mom, she was very scared of my stepdad because he was an alcoholic and he had a history of like abusing her physically, emotionally, of course. For her to get out of the house, she would just drag us, my brother and I, and we would sleep sometimes in constructions. One day I remember that sometimes she would succeed at just going to a random town by just asking for money because she wouldn't work either. She was at home with us. I remember her just stepping and knocking people's door and asking for money, and sometimes she would say the truth, sometimes she would lie about it. She would say just like, oh, I need some money for breakfast for my children, and then she would have me and my little brother there. People would give her money. That would be just enough for our bus ticket. And I remember I was older, I was about like 7 at that time. I remember that you have discount in the bus, and she would ask me to lie about my age and say that I was younger than I wasn't. And I had to lie about it. I knew that the guy wasn't believing on me, but he would ignore it anyway. So we'd get in a bus, go to a very random city, with literally no place to go. Like, oh, we have a goal, we're going to this place. No, it was just like, oh, let's see what's next. So we would just to go to this city. I remember going to campus, which was, I lived in a very small town in Brazil. It's located 7 hours from Rio, called Bom Jesus do Itabapuana. And it's like about 30,000 people there. So it's small in comparison to Rio, but not really small. After we left my city, going to campus, we would sleep at those albergues. It's basically for homeless. So they have those communities. It was mostly men there and drug addicts. So she would drag us there. We would sleep at those random places. And sometimes when she would get some money from families that she would knock on the door, we would have enough to sleep in a hotel one night or two. Or when she wouldn't be able to make to get the money, she would just ask for a favor to sleep there. And some hotel owners, they would allow us some days, and sometimes they wouldn't. They would just kick us out and good luck. And I remember being like 10 at night, or like 8, 9, and my mom dragging us, like we're hungry, dirty, we didn't have a place to stay, and just walking randomly. So this day, I remember we were in Campos dos Goitacazes. That was a city about 1 hour away from my old town. We were in a farmer's market. It was a big farmer's market at that time. And my mom, she was stopping in stores after the other. And I was responsible for carrying a plastic bag with me, that plastic bag that she gathered when she left our home to put some diapers or some clothes or some personal items she would leave in that bag. And as she was holding my brother, she would ask me to carry that bag. I would do that. So that day, I remember that she took us to a store, and I was just looking around, and I placed the bag on the floor so I could have my hands free to see the software in the store. And I remember that when we went to the second or third or fifth store, I looked down, like, where's the bag? I've lost the bag. So my mom, she lost her mind. She was just like, you can't do anything right. And then she started screaming, and it was like in front of everyone. I was 7, 8. I was very ashamed of her. Worst names you could possibly imagine, she would call me and say, you can't do anything right. And she was screaming and she was hitting me at the same time. Well, if she was doing that, she was walking and like, you gotta find this bag. If you don't find this bag, I'm gonna kill you. Or like all of that. She was very, not a, she was in her normal mind. While people were watching her screaming and yelling at me, people would say, hey, who are you? Like, who are you thinking? You're like screaming and yelling at your daughter. What are you doing that? So, and the more people would do that, the more I would suffer. She would hit me more. And she's like, oh, do you see that tension? You're calling. And then she would hit me more. So for me, the worst thing ever was to be seen. I hated it that people was actually seeing what she was doing to me because they were not helping. They're just making it worse. After that city, she never forgave me for that bag that I lost. We never found it. We went to another city that was 4 hours away from my city. So when we left that city, we just slept in hotels or albergues, this like homeless shelter like kind of thing. Um, so she got a ride back, and I even remember perfectly the guy that gave us a ride. He was a truck driver, and he was like, are you crazy? You're taking your little children to the street, to the highway to get rides. Do you know how dangerous that is? And she was like, yes, I know, but I'm running from my husband. He's very abusive, blah blah blah, so that's why I'm doing this. I don't have another choice. So, and then he was like, you have a very pretty daughter, and you're putting her in situations where you guys can get in trouble. My mom, she wouldn't listen. She was just ignore, and I'm like, all right, thank you so much. But thank goodness that guy was a good soul. We didn't end up in any bad situation. Thank God. And then after that, we came back to our hometown, and my mom still was sleeping in abandoned place. So she would take us to a random house that were in construction, and I remember even that the floor wasn't finished yet, so it was pure concrete, and it was very rough. And I remember that we didn't even have a towel to lay on the floor. Sometimes actually my mom would secure a tiny little mattress that was foldable, and but to fit 3 people in a single mattress like this tiny, it was impossible. So I remember it was cold, there were no food, very dark, and we were scared because you're entering a property that you're not supposed to. So it was that constant weird situation that she put at us. So we would not know if we would eat breakfast, we would not know if we would have lunch, or we would not know if we would have money to get back home. We would not know what would happen. It was just that constant uncertainty. The last time that my mom slept outside of the house, I think one of the neighbors, they called the police and the social worker, and they told the situation. They said, oh, there's a mom here with this young child, and that young daughter is sleeping on the street. So I remember the police showing up and asking my mom questions. What are you doing in here? Why are you dragging your kids to this place? What's going on? So she explained all the situation. That ended up going to court. They were starting to file papers to actually take my stepdad out of my grandmother's home, because that home was from my grandmother's. In that meantime, they had to send us somewhere. We wouldn't just be able to just stay on the street or get back home. We couldn't get back home. They sent us to an orphanage. And I'm gonna record the part 2 video. If you're curious to know what happened after, just stay in tune. I hit the bell so you can have notifications when the video pops here in my channel, and subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Bye.